Mike Adams.
Is it really capitalism if your corporate model is to just make money off of poisoning people with medications or poisoning the food supply with herbicides like glyphosate?
The Health Ranger Report.
Or is that just freaking suicide? Large-scale suicide by fascism.
It's time for the Health Ranger Report. The Health Ranger Report. And now from naturalnews.com, here's Mike Adams.
You want to know how you take out CNN and save America from the fake news of the insane mainstream media? It's simpler than you think. Very easy. I'm going to tell you how Donald Trump could sign one executive order and essentially defund CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, and just about every other mainstream media outlet. It's simpler than you think. Thank you for joining me. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. You're listening to the Health Ranger Report. Check out my website at naturalnews.com. So how can Donald Trump accomplish this by signing one executive order? Well, it comes down to the realization that most of the mainstream media is predominantly funded by drug advertising. Yes, the drug cartels, the legal sellers of addictive opioids and vaccines and mind-altering medications, antidepressants, and so on. These drug companies provide about 70% of the revenue that currently supports the mainstream media. And these media outlets, by the way, don't even have a very big audience in terms of their actual reach. For example, CNN during the day, its typical broadcast is only reaching 200,000, 300,000 people, sometimes closer to 1 million, but that's it. It's not even a very big, very wide-reaching news organization, and a lot of those people are reached by accident because they're sitting in an airport forced to watch whatever's on TV, and that's usually CNN. I mean, Natural News has a bigger audience than CNN, and most of the independent media is growing while the mainstream media keeps shrinking. But CNN is heavily funded by the pharmaceutical industry because you see all those drug ads. Those drug ads provide the money that operations like CNN need to keep running. Now, drug ads were illegal before 1997. In other words, you couldn't advertise direct to consumers. You could always advertise, if you were a drug company, in medical journals. That's called advertising to doctors. And that, of course, goes on and will always go on because the drug companies basically own the medical journals. They determine what articles get published and what articles get censored. And that's why most of these journals, like the British Medical Journal, Nature, Lancet, and so on, they're all basically prostitutes for the pharmaceutical industry. Very obvious if you just look through them and see what kind of articles they publish. But drug advertising direct to the public, or what's called DTC, direct pharmaceutical advertising to the public, was illegal up until 1997. Now, DTC stands for direct to consumer. And that kind of drug advertising was, in essence, legalized by regulation from the FDA. The FDA simply announced that it was going to allow drug companies to advertise directly to consumers. Now, this practice, which is insane, it has no logical justification, no medical justification whatsoever. This practice is directly responsible for making healthcare unaffordable in America because it has increased the prices of drugs by, in some cases, over 1,000%. Because what's the message of every ad? Is ask your doctor about fill in the blank, whatever the drug is. So patients go in and they tell their doctors, oh, I saw this on TV, this drug, this chemical, and the people on TV looked really happy and healthy and young, and they were doing Tai Chi. Oh my God, this drug must be amazing. And the doctors prescribe that brand name drug, which is a racket. It's a profiteering monopoly. It's a price monopoly. And at the same time, these drug companies are literally paying off competing producers to not produce generic drugs that might cost only 10% as much. So you got the drug companies funneling money into CNN and the mainstream media to push these drug ads that gets people to come in and ask for the drugs, even though the average consumer has no idea what the drug actually does. Not medically qualified to make any decision about what drug they need, right? But this practice is illegal everywhere else in the world, except, I think, New Zealand. But in every other country in the world, it's illegal. And it was illegal until 1997. Well, now, with Trump in charge, running the FDA, essentially, he can sign one executive order that says direct-to-consumer drug advertising shall no longer be allowed by the FDA because it is a disservice to America, it is a violation of fundamental medical honesty, and it's causing massive increases in drug pricing, which is bankrupting our nation. It's bankrupting our healthcare system, bankrupting our pensions, bankrupting cities and states, and even the national government, and it's got to go. When you do that, President Trump, you also then deny 70% of the revenues to the fake news mainstream media. And I use the word mainstream tongue-in-cheek. They're not even mainstream anymore. The fake news CNNs of the world, the broadcast media, MSNBC, just the fake mainstream news, or what used to be mainstream. That's how you solve the problem. You take their revenues away, and they crater. And what's left in their place is, more independent media, which doesn't take money from drug advertising. Natural News, one of the leaders in independent media, doesn't take any money from drug advertising, never has and never will. We actually ban pharmaceutical advertising. You look at the other leaders in independent media like InfoWars, for example, or Breitbart. I've never seen a drug ad on Breitbart. I don't think they take drug advertising. It would surprise me if they did, but it's possible, I suppose. But I don't think InfoWars takes any drug advertising. Pretty sure they don't. So if you ban this DTC advertising, you're going to clobber the mainstream media, but the independent media will be unaffected because they have other revenue sources that are far more honest and that don't bankrupt America with sky-high prescription drug prices and unaffordable health care. So that's the answer. It's simpler than you think. It's one signature from President Trump and enforcement of this by the FDA. You take away the funding of the fake news media like CNN that is destroying America and pushing false propaganda and wild Russian conspiracy theories every single day. It's time to shut it down, and this is how you do it. Thank you for listening. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Hear more of my podcasts at healthrangerreport.com.
Learn more at healthrangerreport.com.
Support our films for humanity. Visit healthrangerstore.com. The cleanest lab-verified health products in the world.